Yep, exactly. It takes two of us.
Sad, sad.
So Paul and I, yeah, I know we got a few new people here, so I want to welcome John Ferrand. It's his first time coming in here tonight. Nice to see you, John.
Glad to
And
be here.
yep. So the purpose of our group is to, within the little user community, is to share what we're learning and to help people get more value out of their Healy device and working with the frequencies. And Paul and I are co-hosting this tonight. Paul Butera and I. We both have been using the Healy device since early September or late August, and so we've gathered some knowledge and some understanding with what to do, and so we're sharing that with the group. And then we're always excited as new people come on board or people who've been on board for a while. We like to learn what experiences you've had with the Healy device, what comes on, because it is kind of amazing to all of us when they see what these frequencies can do. So we do a couple things on the call. I'll go over and do a scan and send out some frequencies to the group and just go over that procedure to help familiarize everybody how to kind of do a scan and set up. And then we've got a little video tonight prepared for you from Marcus Schmidtke, who is our founder of Time Waiver and Healy. And he's going to spend about 20 minutes, 27 minutes explaining the technology behind Healy and why it works. And so what I'd recommend when we get there is if you can blow up your screen a little bit. I'm going to go from my desktop. He does have a couple slides. It might help to see him. But don't worry if you don't understand everything. I've watched it twice and I got a lot more out the second time. But so Paul is recording this. So if you ever want to watch and zoom ahead to that on YouTube, I'd recommend it. It's a very good presentation by the founder to help understand why this device works. And Paul, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I don't think right now. I'm going to go ahead and throw the link into the chat so everyone can get to this video afterwards as well. I think, like you said, it's about 27 minutes long, and it's one of my favorite videos actually on explaining the Healy. Marcus does such a great job. But like John, I had questions the first time too. You have to watch it a few times to really grasp. He goes in, he gets very deep into stuff a lot of times. But it's a good video nonetheless. So maybe we can have some good conversation afterwards and kind of talk if everyone has any questions and see what we can answer. But I'll get that in the chat so everyone has the availability to see this later as well.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen to bring it up here. And so that way we can see it. And if you type in the chat or some reason, if there's something you can't hear or whatever, but yeah, jot down a note like Paul said. Here we go. I'm going to open this up. So this is Marcus Schmidtke, and I am going to start it now. And he's over in Germany, and they've got a castle. The whole company is kind of housed in this castle, and this guy actually lives in the castle. And his first part of his life, he was a physicist, a quantum physicist. Wrote a bunch of papers, is well published. And then he left. After he understood sort of the material world, he wanted to connect with the conscious world, and he became a monk. Went over to India for 20 years, did a lot of meditating and stuff. And now he's coming back with the knowledge from the spiritual world and to the physical world. And he started to create these devices and things to help. So it's a very interesting kind of combination. So if you didn't know that about this guy, I just wanted to share that as a background. So I'm going to start this.
Time we have did much more scientific basis of Healy, and especially on the question, how can we explain how Healy works, on which level Healy works, frequencies work, what is the information field, what is the bioenergetic field, all these questions. We have worked out new models to explain it in a simple way, but not in a too simple way. So I want to take you on a small journey through some of the stations now. And the first station is something which will challenge you a little. And I like to ask Frank to give us the first picture of the presentation, which is, yes, here it is. So this will be a little challenging, but don't worry. Soon after this, I will give you a very simplified version of the same figure, of the same graphic, give you an idea what Healy is doing. So what I'm presenting here is not really mainstream science, but it's something like what's called emerging science. It's like on the frontiers of science, but there are many great scientists, also Nobel laureates, who are thinking about this terminology which I'm using here. So it's not yet there at the universities, but it's a little ahead of its time. So if you look at this picture, maybe in the beginning it looks bewildering, but then if you understand the structure, it shows you, it gives you a clear insight about the ideas and the worldview behind Healy. And here you see Healy in the very center. In the very center of this picture is Healy. So what is the center? The center is a level which I call the quantum processes. So the level of the quantum processes is dividing our world in two halves. One half is low, we just can call it matter, and the other half is above, we call it information. Matter and information are not really two different things, but they are actually one. Information
John? John? We can't hear.
is
No volume.
information of energy in information,
Can you hear it?
Yeah, well, it's cutting in and out. Is your bandwidth fine at your internet? You keep muting yourself. Hey, John, pause the video for a sec.
Paul, is everybody muted? Maybe that's it.
No, I muted everybody. It's cutting in and out. Let me just do one. Let me try to share my screen, John, and see if I can't pull up my video and see if it makes any difference.
Okay.
I have the same one.
Okay.
I'll just fast forward to where it's at.
I'll stop so you got 408 mark. Sorry, everybody.
Okay.
transforms constantly into matter. So we can look at this world as matter, but we can look at this at the world from another perspective as information. And quantum physics actually looks at this world more as information than on matter. But we experience the world as matter with our senses. but our senses are gathering information about this world. So in a way, this reality in which we are living is a constant transformation of energy in information, information into energy, energy into matter, and matter into information. It's a process, a very creative process where these three very fundamental aspects of reality, matter, energy, and information, are transformed into each other. And the main transformator of between matter and information, this is what we call quantum processes. So let's look at matter. Matter has two aspects. The first aspect is our molecular body. This we all know from school. Our body consists of molecules which are connected by chemical forces and interact through electrons, but they also interact through photons. So these are two aspects of our electromagnetic body. The electromagnetic body is a field which permeates our whole body. It's more subtle than the molecules of our body, but these fields are controlling our body. It's quantum fields of light, or quantum electromagnetic fields. This is what we call the biophotons. So all of this together makes up the way how we visualize matter here. It's the molecular aspect of our body, and this is the electromagnetic aspect, which has an electrical aspect and the very subtle aspects of biophotons. So we will talk a little later about the electrical aspect, which we have very much focused always in our explanations about Healy regarding the cell membrane potential. The cells are really the most important units within our body. And the cells produce the energy which we are using in our body. And they produce this energy in the form of ATP, which is something like the fuel of the cells. And this becomes the fuel of the body. It creates the heat. It creates our ability to move, everything. But the cells can only produce the ATP if they have a strong electrical potential. It's like a battery. It needs a voltage. So our cell membrane have a voltage. This is the basic electrical unit which we are using. But above this, our cells communicate with each other through photons. This is electromagnetic radiation. And those photons, which have a very specific biological meaning, are called biophotons. They are quantum, photons are also quantum-like, but they're creating a coherent quantum field, which like an aura, but this is actually a scientific field, permeates our whole body and controls many of the biochemical and biophysical processes. So that's the visible material world. But on top of it, this material substances of our systems are permeated by information fields which through quantum processes guide the movements of the electrons, the movements of the body, guide the chemical reactions. This is all done within the information field, which very nature is quantum entanglement. So quantum entanglement, it's a very specific term from quantum physics, but I want to give you a very clear idea what it is. If you have two things, like the Healy and the small statue, if they are once connected in a quantum process, even if they move very far away from each other and are separated, they will be still connected by quantum entanglement. This is something which we know it's true for photons, it's true for electrons, but it's generally true for everything which once had a connection with each other, that it will stay connected in a generalized sense. So, but this means that all the things in this world have a kind of relationship which is hidden. It's hidden because we analyze this world in terms of separate objects, and we can only do this by losing the information of wholeness. So to get this information of wholeness back into the picture, we need the information field, which very nature is quantum entanglements, as a complementation of our material worldview. Otherwise, we end up in a world which doesn't make any sense anymore, where we cannot connect body back to the mind and the spirit, which is very much necessary to make meaning of it. So we have the information field up here, we have the material body up here, and in between we have the quantum processes. And this is where Healy operates, because Healy in its very center, it's something like on the back of the Healy hardware. It has what we call a quantum sensor. It's actually a physical noise generator, which through entanglements connects the information fields with the material aspect of our organism. So the Healy analyzes on this level of the quantum processes, it analyzes constantly which frequencies shall be applied to achieve two goals. And these two goals are very clearly shown in this graphic. There's one arrow going down and one arrow going up. It's actually the same arrow which has two directions, but this makes it very clear. From Healy comes microcurrent. Microcurrent is electrical current which has a very, very low amplitude. The amplitude is so small that you can hardly feel it, but it's high enough that our cells can recognize this microcurrent, and it's of the same amplitude as the currents which our body produces itself. For example, if we cut ourselves, the body is producing very low amplitude of current to support the healing. So this is the same principle. We are using the microcurrent, which is coming from Healy with the low frequencies to affect the electromagnetic body, especially on the level of the cell membrane, but also on the higher levels. The low frequencies work very much down to the border between the electrical field in the body, and the little higher frequencies work higher up. But then the higher frequencies, they work in this direction. They work towards the bioenergetic field. The bioenergetic field is that part of the information field which relates to our body through bioenergy. Bioenergy is Qi in Chinese tradition, or prana in Indian tradition, but it's actually flows of quantum information and quantum energy which connects the information field with the material aspect of our being. So the Healy is really placed in the middle, and through the two ways how the microcurrent frequencies operates, connects the information field to the material aspect of our existence. So I want to show you, oh, I can move myself in this direction. Look at this simple picture. It's a simplified version of the diagram which we just looked at. We still have the Healy in the center, and from the Healy we have microcurrent frequencies going in two directions. One direction is the microcurrent with the low frequencies, where the microcurrent itself is more predominant. And the other is the microcurrent with the high frequencies, where the frequencies are in the foreground. They are more predominant. So looking down, the low frequency modulated microcurrent actually aims at the cell, at the cellular level, with the goal to increase the cellular energy. Whereas the frequencies, the higher frequencies, they aim at the bioelectrical field, the bioenergetic field, and they are designed to harmonize the bioenergetic field. But the bioenergetic field is active in the environment of the cell, and the cell is active within the environment of the bioenergetic field. So the fields are within the body and the body is within the fields. This is the wisdom of this ancient Taoistic symbol, which gives us such a deep insight into how this world is organized. That within the material we find the spiritual, and within the spiritual we find the material, or within the matter we find the information field, and within the information field we find matter. It's not two things, it's two sides of the same coin. Or here we have it as two aspects of reality. And the symbolism of this young symbol is very clearly, if you look at it, it's a vibration or it's a frequency. So how does matter and information talk to each other? Through transfer of energy. And this transfer of energy can only happen through frequency and amplitude. So frequency is really the most important property of the energy flow which connects information field and matter. So we will publish this two diagrams very soon. This diagram will be a part of the company presentation in the future, whereas the original diagram, with more complexity, and I have written 2 pages of explanation about this. This we will publish in our manual or in an additional explanatory text to the manual very soon. We just need to translate it into the different languages of the world so that you will have this both of the pictures to get a little clearer idea about this kind of emerging science behind Healy. And the goal of this science is really to connect body, mind, and soul, to connect information, matter, and energy in one big picture. So this is one aspect of what we are working on and have been working on to make Healy, give you a deeper insight into how Healy functions. There are many details I will talk about today, but I just want to show you 2 new pictures. And they are not so new, and probably you recognize immediately what you'll see here, because we have talked a lot about the cell membrane potential. The cell membrane potential is actually the voltage at the cell membrane. And remember, you all saw this diagram in a different way already. Here, we're presenting it in a new way because we want to be more precise scientifically. In the old graph, it was not wrong, but it was giving average values. And here, the average values are replaced by areas. For example, the healthy young cell starts at -90 millivolt and goes up to -45 millivolt. So that's all the range in which the healthy young cell can operate. Like a liver cell normally is around 45 millivolt, whereas a muscle cell needs a higher action potential of -90 millivolt, and all the other cells are in between. So this is a more precise idea, presentation of the same idea. So at -45 millivolt, uncontrolled cell division starts. So this is the area we really want to avoid. And in between -60 and -30 millivolt, we have the cell which starts to age, which develops symptoms of sickness and starts to cause pain. So this is a gradual process which starts with a young and healthy cell, and through a gradual process goes until 0 millivolt, which actually means that the cell is dying. And here we have areas where inflammation or ischemic situations or pains are predominant. So this is in future, in the component presentation and in the manual and everywhere, this actualized model of the cell membrane potential will replace the one which we had before. The old one is not wrong. The new one is more precise and more scientific. So if you get the new one, you can put both of them next to each others and you will see how they actually correspond to each other. And this model actually goes back to two great researchers, Robert Becker and Björn Norderström, and especially Björn Norderström. Both of them are amazing pioneers with a very strong standing in the scientific community. Björn Norderström was even the former chairman of the Nobel Prize Committee for Medicine. Now I want to show you another diagram, which will also be a part of the company presentation in future, because we're talking about the cell. And not everyone really still has a very clear about how a cell is actually composed. So here you see the cell membrane, and the cell membrane itself, it's not conductive, so it's not conducting electricity. It's like, yeah. So outside the cell, we have a positive potential, and inside the cell, we have a negative potential. That's the meaning of why we are saying a minus 90 millivolt, why the cell membrane potential is negative, because inside the cell, the intracellular space, it's charged negatively. So this creates the cell membrane potential, which is up to minus 90 millivolt. But the cell membrane potential is not the only membrane potential in the cell, because inside the cell, we have the mitochondria. The mitochondria are the little power stations of the cell, and actually they are producing the ATP, and they have the mitochondria have their own membrane potential, which is even higher. It's minus 150 millivolt. So when the cell membrane potential of the cell is strong, we can also expect a strong membrane potential at the mitochondria. And this is exactly the place where the ATP production takes place, where the cell produces the energy which we need for moving and for living. So actually, I have done a lot of research on the state of science on the cell membrane potential, and on the mitochondria, and they all indicate that microcurrent, with especially the low frequencies, can be supportive for both of this membrane potential, for the cell membrane potential itself and for the membrane potential of the mitochondria also. So here we have a very good model to explain how the microcurrent dominant aspect of Healy works, whereas the Nunonina programs of the Healy, they are mainly focusing on the effect of the frequencies on the bioenergetic field. So we are relying, when we use Healy, on both of these effects. We want to harmonize with the higher frequencies, the bioenergetic field, and with the lower frequency microcurrent, we want to support the cellular energy. And all this together gives a very strong basis to the effect of the healing. I found there is a very interesting way to measure the cell membrane potential non-invasively by measuring the bioimpedance and a related parameter from the bioimpedance, which is called the phase angle. So we have done lots of experiments here in our laboratory and have seen that actually the low microcurrent frequencies applied by Healy, they can increase this. So we found a new way to measure actually how microcurrent frequencies can increase the cellular membrane potential. So there's a lot of new things coming up, and we will keep you informed about the process, and most of the things we will also publish in the network. Then the last thing I want to conclude with today, because there's more speakers, is a very important aspect of our work, is to do studies with Healy. And one ongoing study with Healy, which we want to start very soon, is referring to the quickly growing network. We're having every day, we're having hundreds and hundreds of new people using the Healy. So in the future, we want to give to everyone who uses the Healy, before he starts first time using the Healy, a very simple questionnaire, but very profound. We have designed this questionnaire together with a doctor of medicine from Berlin, with another physician and a team who are normally designing clinical studies. So this questionnaire will ask simple questions to determine the state, the situation, how a person feels before he starts using Healy, how he sleeps, how is his energy level, what is his concrete situation. And then the person uses Healy, the new member or the new customer uses Healy for 2 weeks or up to 4 weeks, and then he gets automatically access to the same questionnaire again, and to have a report on what changed during his using.
Well, can you guys hear me? Can you hear me, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. He just goes in a little bit more about this, diagnostic tool that they're going to send out to the network. But first of all, I want to apologize for the audio there. We thought we had a better handle on that. So I'm hoping you were able to hear enough of that. What our hope for you to understand that is these two fields that they talk about where the Healy works at, because everybody's always asking me when they sign up, well, how does the pink dot work? How does the blue dot app work? Where do these two things hit? So Marcus was talking about that. The pink dot hits down at the cellular level, activates stuff in the cellular level, but we're also still connected to this bioenergetic field. And so these frequencies that they send out through the quantum entanglement hit up there. So we're actually getting it in two ways. I mean, that's really kind of a big thing. I mean, I and Paul can say it really simplistically like this, but it's kind of nice to have a guy who's got the quantum physics background give you a little bit more. So in that, I'd just like to kind of open up, see if there's any questions. Or Paul, did you want to add a little bit to that on that bit? Or is, anybody have a question?
I think you covered it really well. I mean, I'd say open it up to questions to see if everyone truly understood. I know the first time I watched it, I didn't understand. And I catch something new every time that, when I watch this video as well, because this is probably one of those videos when people say, well, how does it work and what does it do? I mean, to bring it down to a level like John just did, I think people get it a little bit better. And it's one of those things that's difficult to explain. It's almost, you have to use it to believe it. And once you do
The
believe it.
mental aspect.
Yep. You still there, Paul?
Yep, I'm here.
Sorry.
No, that's all I had. I just wanted to, I just think it's important that people can speak at a really high level on, in regards to that video, because that's really in a nutshell on what the Healy is and what we hold in, in our hands when we show this to people. So I think you did a good job there. And Marcus, yeah, he goes into some great detail, and he's probably done it even deeper than that in recent weeks as well. So, yeah, with that, I mean, does anyone have any questions on it?
Judy here. You can't see me. I've got a Post-it note on my video here. This is so far over my head, but I just have a question if you can help me. What is the difference between the blue and the pink as far as if I run the blue on myself, what is the difference between running the pink on myself?
Well, John, go ahead. I'm going to pull up that quick visual. So
Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen, Paul? Am I screen sharing?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, you are.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe this is what you were going to do, Paul. Anyways, I just jumped on. So Judy and everybody here, I'll kind of explain it in layman's terms. what Marcus was going through because it is kind of difficult. Here we have the Healy in the center. And what this Healy has, he talks about it having a quantum sensor, the ability to vibrate stuff over here. So here we have us down here at the bottom. This is our physical mass. This is where it's really dense. The analogy I like to think about when you go from dense to the ethereal or to the airy, think about water. When water gets really cold, it compresses into ice. As it warms up, has more energy in it, it becomes water. And then when it has even more into it, it goes off into the air as like steam and you don't even see it. But whether it's in the air or it's dense, it's still H2O. It might be when it's ice, it's a lot of H2O really packed closely together. And when it's up into the atmosphere in the air, it's very dispersed. So, but it's still water and it's all connected. So here's our body down here. And this is the mass where we're really kind of close, tightly connected and coupled. We have our cells in there, Judy. So you're asking what happens. In the pink dot application, it's sending the microcurrents in there and it's activating our cellular energy. And when he told you what they've studied in there, when they apply these microcurrents and they do it in the right way, it actually causes our cell to become more youthful again. And when our cells are more youthful again, they're able to be more productive. And they're able to create healing effects from the physical level. Now, when you go up to the, when you start to go above this, up into this field here, I mean, this is the part that's weird and it's hard for us to understand, but we're still up here in this area. And the example that I use on that is over here where he talks about quantum entanglement. We've all had the experience, almost everybody I've talked to has had the experience that when they thought about somebody, they were thinking about them, and then the next thing you know, they call them. And they go, no way, I didn't realize you were, you know, that I was just thinking about you. You know, and it was just and now here we are talking, right? We've had an experience like that, or we walk into a room and we may not know somebody, but they either give us the heebie-jeebies and we later find out that they're, you know, really a bad apple, or there's something really attractive about them that draws us into them and we find some, you know, unique good qualities. This is at that level where we are sensing each other in this quantum entanglement field. So because that comes up and it, you know, when it starts to go into the more dense level of the body, the Healy over here has the ability through the Blue Dot app to vibrate frequencies up here that are resonating with our body down here because we're connected. There's a connection here, whether we know it or not, but it starts to vibrate. Oh, your liver's up here, or your mental attitude, or your teeth, or your connective tissues. Let me organize it this way. And then it starts to come back down into our physical state. That's what he's explaining what quantum mechanics is. Now, you know, I didn't go into quantum physics. I don't, you know, have a full grasp, but the little bit I've read about it, it talks about this is the, and this is verifiable reality. It's just we didn't, you know, we're evolving from Newton mechanics into quantum mechanics. Does that help, Judy?
Well, it does help a little bit, but what I'm taking from this is that using the pink dot is more physical and using the blue dot is more ethereal, more spiritual.
Yep.
Okay.
And it works. I mean, I know that's, you summed it up really good. And the thing is that after a while, do you really need all this explanation? At the end of the day, you know, I have my cell phone and I want to go call Mom and I dial her phone number. Do I have to know how a cellular base station works and how a cellular tower and whether it's TDMA, CDMA, or GSM signals, that how it's broadcasting it from here to there, and how does it know where Mom's cell phone is and whether she's at her home or she's shopping somewhere within the Twin Cities? I just dial it, it rings, she picks up, she answers. It works.
So which one is more optimal to use? Which one do you get more bang for your buck?
Well, you can go through an experiment and find out and do both. I mean, you're going to get a bang for your buck on both. It's going to hit you in both ways. Is it good just to work on the dense level, or do you also want to work on this level of you too?
Okay, okay, thank you.
Like that, Judy. I don't know. I've gone through here, and when I've been showing people when they were, thinking about do they want to get involved, do they want to get a Healy to support themselves, I was sending them frequencies from here to there. I happened to be here in New Prague. They happened to be up in Woodbury, or they happened to be over in the south of France. And then they reported to me something on how they were a little bit better. I don't really understand how that really worked, but I know that it worked because they told me something changed.
Okay,
And then I've had a local and had them do it. And sometimes it doesn't happen for people right away. I've always said this, I caution everybody. Sometimes you just don't feel anything. You won't feel anything for, a day, 2 days, 3 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. But something, so far my experience is everybody has an experience. It's just, where is it? And it's like peeling off an onion layer to go again, again, and again. So
sure.
I'm
What,
asking you, what kind of experience have you had with Healy so far? Have
oh,
you had one?
oh, absolutely. It's been great.
So
Yeah,
it's been yours, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
well, I've had 2 knee surgeries, the last one in July. And I know it takes sometimes 2 years to recover from that. But about a week ago, I had some severe itching on the outside of my my lower leg. And I know I mean, it just intuitively, I know that was tissue that was still holding on to, it was still swollen. And after probably 24 hours, that went away. And I know it was because
What
I had run the
programs,
Healy.
what programs were you running? Were you doing blue dot, pink dot, and which ones
I
were you running?
I was I was running them all. I was saturating myself with it. Oh God, I had a question and just went out of my head. So how long, if you run the blue dot for someone far away, how long do you typically run it?
There's the recommendations that we've gotten, the guidelines, and I know that we've shared that with the group before, and we can always share it again. But there's a matter between acute and chronic. So I don't know what the issue is, if it's acute or chronic. And then there's the method of actually, sometimes like with homeopathy, or even with a prescription drug, they go like take it 4 times a day or 5 times a day, whatever the thing is. So if you're going to do something 4 or 5 times a day, then I would go little bits, boom, 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 throughout the day, 37 seconds, or 17 seconds, and just send it, throughout the day. And there's a really simple way to how to do that once you've figured out what frequencies you're going to be sending the individuals. If you're kind of busy, you don't have a lot of time, so you only want to just do it once, well, then you might send them, a minute 20, maybe 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Send that to them, and you just do that once a day.
Okay,
Now,
so
I've done it the other way too. I've played with it. I've gone overboard. I'm sure a lot of others have here too. Maybe Paul can talk to that. I've run it, for 50 minutes. And oh well, if 2 minutes is good, 50's got to be better.
We've
yeah,
we've all been there, John. I've done it too, especially with, some of the sleep programs, um, within the Blue Dot, where I used to run them. I'd run them most of the night, to be honest with you. I'd turn the Healy on, run the sleep app, just put it on like 5.5 hours, 6 hours, whatever, and just start running it. When I started figuring out, I'm like, well, you necessarily don't need that. Um, those times are really reserved for large structures, things like that, buildings and whatnot. But as far as a human is concerned, I mean, typically the guidelines are under the 3-minute mark. For depending on acute, depending on chronic issues, you could run them 3 times a day up to 8 times a day, that same program. So, but John's analogy was just really dead accurate, and that's the first time I heard that too, John, and I really like it. And I'll steal it from you actually in the future, because I mean, if you go down to that bottom of the screen, it goes from the ice cube to the evaporated water, which is the steam coming off, and that's really a great analogy as to how that quantum entanglement works, because whether we're in that cube form or we're the steam that came off, we're still the same matter, right? So that entanglement is still there. And that's how the frequencies work in our field per se, versus the microcurrent, or we're actually working directly with our cellular organization in our bodies. So
Great, thanks, Judy. Anybody else have a question?
hey, John, will you stop sharing just for a quick second? I want to, just because Judy asked,
Yep,
I want to pull up the screen if
I
I
stopped sharing. Did it stop? Wait, okay, wait. Push over here. Stop sharing. There you go.
okay. Let me see if I want to find, unless you have it available, John, just the remote frequencies guidelines.
While you're searching, can I ask another question?
Yep.
I know this sounds pretty bizarre, but
Go ahead, Judy.
have any of you ever done a scan on someone who has passed away?
I have not.
No, I
I
haven't
would
heard that.
like to
That's-
I
hear.
have.
I'd love to hear someone share.
I have. I've done it,
And
and it just came up. I mean, I lost it now because I had trouble with my Healy, and so all my stuff got erased. But so I can't look at it. But it acted like, I mean, the same normal stuff that came up for any person came up for them. It was weird. I thought I'd get different things, but I did think being came up as one of them. But when I did it, but I ran it 2 or 3 times. I did all the Healy apps, and then I did, whatever the top 2 or 3 were, I ran them again. But yeah, I did it, and they came up, and I can't remember what it all was, but it was interesting.
it would be a great question to ask someone with the background that like Marcus has, to see how that entanglement still works. I know it does from other people I spoke with. I know there's still entanglement there, even if we're not here physically. But I'd be very curious to see how that actually works from a scientific, perspective of someone like how his mind works. It'd be very interesting.
Well-
Judy, go ahead.
What I was going to say was, I didn't know whether to put it in as a person or I think other, when you're putting the client in. So I wasn't quite sure which one to put it under. I did put it under person, but I think I ran it with other again too. So what would you suggest if you're running that? Would you put it under person or not? Instead of animal, it goes person, animal, building, group, whatever.
That's a great question. I don't know.
I didn't know.
I Judy here. I put it in under person, and I ran my dad. And one of the things that came up was skin, and he had major skin cancer on his arm before he died. So I thought that was really interesting.
So can I ask a question? When you these things, was the person dying or they were already gone?
Gone.
Okay.
My dad's been dead 8 years.
Oh, for how long?
He's been dead for 8 years.
Oh, wow. That's really wild then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't understand if they were like in the process of passing or not. You know what I mean? I was just wondering. So
Yeah, sure.
It's a very interesting topic to talk about. I wish I knew more about it. Yes.
So how did you capture like their vibration, their like initial resonance You just created them, and even though they've passed?
Just
Yeah,
like
I
you would if you're doing remote for somebody
Yeah.
that isn't here.
Oh, okay. I just wondered. Okay, that sounds interesting. I never even thought to do that. That's interesting. Thanks.
Does anyone else have any questions on what we watched tonight?
Well, I can finish off with a quick demo just to refresh everyone's mind of how to kind of do this if you want. So I will, I'll bring this up. And if somebody has a question, please jump in. Trust, let's see if this goes. Why is, of course, we're gonna have all the problems tonight, aren't we?
Did y'all find the remote frequency guidelines? Is that something you could email out or?
Yes, we can. I'm actually looking for them right now, and I had them here last week, and I don't know if I moved them somewhere else and forgot where I put them, but I am looking for them as we speak. So
Okie dokie. Well, John is doing that. I just thought I'd put in a couple of 2 cents with my experimentation.
Sure, go ahead.
There was a friend of mine and I, we both decided to run the same program at the same time. She was in a different place and I was over here. I can't remember what the program was, but it was something simple. But it was completely different information. You know, and it's like, do you have this on your top 5? No, I have this and this and this. And it was like, well, I have this and this and this. And then another thing was that I have been working on lineage, both past and future lineage. And I ran one of the programs and it came up, maybe I think I did what you said, John, which was to like go to the bottom of the blue and check all, you know, and it came up with mother in 3 of the 5 programs of needing resonance. And that was exactly what I was working on. And it was a little creepy. I was like, ooh, how does it know that? It was very interesting. And there was another time where I have my intention and it pulled it up exactly what I've been working on. It was very interesting. And then one last thing is that I actually put my daughter and her dog together in the same picture. And that's when I had a question about where to put who. But I put it under other, but they really have, she's got a puppy and the puppy's driving her crazy. And I thought maybe if I could calm both of them down, it'd be really a good thing. Anyway, I'm just kind of having fun with it once I'm getting kind of around the technology issues. And I ran it a bunch today. I hadn't yet, this was the first time that I used the sticky tabs on both my foot and my knee. And they do actually feel better than they have. I have a Morton's neuroma that I've had for several years and haven't been able to walk well. And sometimes it's better than not. And I'm looking forward to being able to walk better again. So it seemed to help. And also the fitness. So I worked specifically with the pain frequency. And then Anais said to use, she had used the fitness one on me. And that seemed to help in general. And she didn't even tell me she was using it. But I noticed later that I was actually feeling better because I wasn't hurting so much. And then I called her and said, what were you doing to me? Because it's better. So she went back and looked at her list and determined that it was the fitness one. So anyway, it's really fun to me to experiment with this stuff, and I'm enjoying it.
Oh, thanks for sharing, Morningstar. I see Paul has popped in. into the chat the Healy Resonance Guidelines. So if you go into the chat, does anybody need help before I start a demo on how to download that from the chat?
Uh-huh.
Yes, yes.
Go ahead, Paul.
So
Uh-huh.
does everyone see, can everyone open the chat at your bottom of your screen? It'll say chat, open that box up.
No, I can't see that on my phone. How do I get it on my phone?
What kind, it should be, there should be a bottom bar. If you like tap your screen, a little bar should come up
Oh, okay.
and then hit
There-
chat.
There's
Um,
more on your
I don't-
phone. It has participants. You see the little people,
uh-huh,
and then next to the little people to the right is the three dots.
uh-huh,
If you click on the three dots,
okay,
the second menu option is chat.
okay, great.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anybody need help trying to figure out? Because I know we're all on different platforms, iPads, iPhones, Androids. Does anybody need help to download that resource that Paul just dropped in there? It's called the Healy Resonance Guidelines.
Hold on just a second.
Okay,
I got
well,
a
if you do-
video. I got video
If you-
instead of,
If you speak up, no, that was also dropped in there, Morningstar. You have to scroll.
yeah,
to
I don't see anything, just the video. I don't see the,
There's the
link.
ability to scroll.
no, it won't scroll.
I typically don't go from a phone, so I'm not. What I do, John, do you have, we can send this out via email too, can we not? Yeah, do you have this, John, or I'll just send it to you right now if I don't forget, unless you want to pull it up on your computer and save it quick. Because if you do
Yeah, I'm
get
doing
into
it right
chat
now.
even after, you should be able to just click on the link and it'll open up, but
Yeah, I couldn't see it
get-
at all.
we'll get it sent out then.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it just has the video and then Hyun saying thanks. I think we lost audio, and panelist says I can't hear, and that's all. It's on mine.
Okay.
Ditto here.
That's all you can see too?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will send it out to, I hear Judy and Morningstar. So I'm going to finish with a demo here real quick, just to remind you. So like, here's what it looks like before I open this on my iPad. I see these two little guys here. And actually there's three on my screen, but I'm going to open up pink dot. So I touch that, come up here, do a scan. And as I do a scan, I touch this dot right here to do a resonance scan. You can also, maybe next week I will show you how to do an aura scan, or I'll have Paul do that. But I'm going to do a resonance scan, and I'm not going to add a new client. That's where I would do that at the top. If I wanted to add a new client, I could select them. And you can see I can build an animal, a plant. These are the different categories, just to remind everybody. But in this case here, I'm going to go down and I'm going to grab myself. And I have my focus statement. What do I have the greatest resonance for? So if you think about that, what we've just heard tonight, just to tie it into tonight's presentation, they're talking about resonance. Everything vibrates at a certain frequency. Your liver, your eyes, your mood, your organs, and they all vibrate at a certain frequency. So we're trying to find out, what does my body, right now I'm not optimally vibrating at the level I should be. And in this field out there, it knows what the optimal vibration pattern is. So Healy's going to do an adjustment. It's going to go through and it's going to calculate, where is John vibrating right now? What do we know is optimum? And let's go through and figure out which program he needs to help bring his body back into more well-being. So we have this as our intention. That's what that means. So we're just holding that to think, where do I want to get better? So now I continue with the database selection, and I come over here and I select this little guy right there. And now I have all these different databases, or they call them programs. So I'm going to skip the first 8. We're going to do these one of these other weeks when we go into that, but these first 8 are only on your Blue Dot app. And we're going to go down here into the gold programs. I see Healy Gold, Healy Fitness, Healy Jobs. And after every one of these is a number in brackets, which is just signifying under the fitness program, there's 8 sub-programs. There's 8 sub-programs under the fitness. There's 7 under the jobs, 4 under the sleep. Under beauty, there's 6, skin 5, mental balance 8, bioenergetic balance 12, and so on. Okay, those are all categories, and they all have frequencies in them. And I'm going to go down to the very bottom where it says all Healy programs. I'm going to touch that. And now what it did is it selected it for me. So here's my statement. And the category is I selected all Healy programs. So now what it's going to do is it's scan my bioenergetic field. It's going to do an analysis and find out what is going on in John. So I place my finger on here and it's in blue. And that blue just means it's sensing my field, what's going on in John. Okay, so what comes up here is Healy Jobs Program. I mean, here's how I read this chart. It has my name. It then says I ran all Healy programs. Here's the time and date stamp. And now it says at 66% within the job programs, which I think we know were 7 or 8 of them, that's my highest need. Then at 50% are the Healy learning programs. Right behind it at 49% are the deep cycle programs. High at 49% are the meridian programs. And then very close behind are the gold cycle programs. So now I've just done a scan of myself, and there's 2 actions I can do. I can down here at the action bar, I touch that, and I can send a PDF to myself. I touch that, it generates a PDF, and I touch these little 3 bars up here in the corner, and I can send it to my printer. I can email it to myself. If I've got a friend over there, I can send it to them. I can send it to myself by a message, on a text message. It just shows you all the different options I have to what I want to deal with this report. So I'm not going to do anything with it now. I'm going to click this little X and send it away. I hit this action button and it says, oh my God, I can vibrate it to myself right now. So now it's set up to do a vibration for me when I did that. And how do I know that? Because down here at the bottom, it says select transmission duration. It always comes up with the default of 1 minute 20 seconds. Touch that minute 20 seconds, it brings up a dialog box. There's the dialog box, and I can select and say, you know what, I'm just going to vibrate this one for 8 seconds to myself. Okay? Now I come down here and I hit the start button, and boom. I'm getting a frequency treatment in that upper level field that we saw right now. And I could be here, or I could be where my friend John Ferrana is down in Florida and sending the frequencies to him. Don't have to be close with each other like this. You can send these from here to there. So now I know I want to come back out. I vibrated this little arrow here, allows me to go back because I want to remember what was my top program. Oh yeah, that's right, Healy Jobs Program. So what I want to do now is I want to run a second scan because I want to find out what are my top programs within this category. Because I know in this program category that I saw before, so I'm going to come down here to the bottom and I'm going to touch this little lightning bolt pattern here. And that's going to bring me back to the home screen where I can begin to do another analysis. I touch that and I scroll down and I find my name and I'm going to make a database selection again. So I come over here to database selection. I come over here and it said my top thing was the jobs program. So if you remember, see here's the jobs program. and there's 7 subprograms in there. So there are 17 categories, Healy Gold, pain, learning, but it said my top one was jobs. So I'd like to find out what are the top programs in there. So I've got it set up now, I've queued it up, and now it's going to do an analysis with just those programs, those 7. Boom. It's done. So at 61%, it says I need the activation program. At 59%, it says I need positive thoughts. At 57%, exhaustion acute. 50 at nerves balance, and 33 fatigue. So what the heck? I'm here doing this. It's been a long day. I'll give myself 17 seconds. Boom, I'm now getting a treatment. Now, it's kind of interesting. My friend Paul here, who's on the phone call with me, I had never run the activation program for myself. And now it's come up as number 1. So this is one way. I've just gotten a little taste of it through that video like you were asking. I just touched myself, but I touched all 5. These are the top 5 programs that I need. So when Healy does it this way, when it's sending it to you in the field, it gives you a little bit of all 5 as it rolls through. But if I were at home and I thought, you know what, I'd like to hook myself up, I would quit out of this and I would open up the pink dot and I would go into that one and select the activation program. So I'll do it right now. It takes me 2 seconds. First thing I need to do is I need to kill this app. So I release the Bluetooth connection with Healy. So I get rid of it on my iPad. Now I come back here, turn my Healy back on because it automatically turned my Healy off. I come back in here and I open the pink dot. Oops, I didn't get that just right. I'm going to do it again. And John, I know you're probably thinking I didn't show this to you yet because I just showed you pink dot because I wanted to kind of keep it simple to let you get some experience, but this is what I was going to show you next. So here it is. It's already queued up for me. Under jobs, I have this set up. So now I would select the job activation program. I press start. And since I've already run this program, it's already loaded and it's now ready to run the program for me. And if I had myself hooked up to wires, but now this is how you go through and hook yourself up and have an individual program. That's how you find out which program is your highest need. But in the very beginning, when you run Healy, it's okay for the first week or 2 just to go through and start with the gold programs because these are very powerful programs just to get used to, like Peer. I'm going to run Peer. I got it started here and I'm now transmitting it to myself. So I'm going to pause for a second. Was there any questions with what I did there? I know I kind of went fast, but I want to let you know what, if it's overwhelming right now, don't worry. I've been doing this now for 5 or 6 months. I'm going to guarantee you that within 2 weeks, you're going to be feeling much more comfortable after having played with this and done it.
John, I have a question.
Yep.
On the duration part of the time areas, I noticed that some of the numbers have a certain frequency. How do I know whether I want to use a certain frequency as opposed to just time?
Well, that frequency changes, Morningstar. So you look here, see it's changing right now. So pulse is 52 minutes and it's changing another frequency.
No, I mean on the blue one, you when you hit all programs and then you go into duration.
Right.
When you open that menu, there are different frequencies for different times that are listed there besides just minutes and seconds.
No, it's all minutes. It gets into like it's just like an eighth of a second. It looks like frequency, but it's not. It's just a microsecond.
Oh, I thought it said hertz. I thought it said 517 or it's out in 40
I
something.
think that's an abbreviation for that part of a second. That's what that is.
Oh,
It's a second. If you go through and push that button, that's what it is. It's a fraction of a second.
oh. Okay. That was confusing.
Yep.
Okay,
At least now
thank,
you know. I can go back to that, but I just kind of want to right now. And so, Paul, do you want to add anything to that? I'll go back and show that in real quick for that question, and then we'll kind of wrap it up tonight, unless there's some other big question. We'll actually keep you on if you want Morningstar because you had a technical question, but and anybody else is willing to hang out if they want us hear us address a technical question where she's got a glitch. Oh, that's nice. My Healy battery ran out.
yeah, right now, John, I can't even remember what the question is, so we might could just, maybe I'll come up with it and give you a holler or something. We may have already covered it or something, and it's not standing out to me again yet.
So here we go. I'm going to choose vibrate.
Mm-hmm.
Not HZ, it's just Z.
See, there's a 590 hertz, there's a 2 hours, 12 seconds, 598 Z. What's that mean?
That's just 2 hours, 12 full seconds, and that's what you have for a partial part of a second, 590th part of a second, like a half a second. That's how they mark it down. When you get into, less than a second.
So the Z doesn't have anything to do with voltage or frequency or anything, then it's not a hertz thing, it's just a
No.
part of a second. Okay. Well, that was interesting to me. And boy, and do you know why they broke it down where it's like those tiny little micro parts of a second?
I don't.
Yeah,
Okay,
I do not either.
it's kind of interesting
Because they're physicists.
Yeah,
because they can.
that's the best reason I could come up with too.
Yeah, well, I love listening to Marcus with his, enthusiasm about this work. It's awesome.
Well, I think we could probably end the recording here. Does anybody else have a question for tonight? I mean, we've got a couple people who are going to stay on, and we're going to help with the technical question, and anyone else is willing to. But that's kind of it for tonight, and we'll figure out something to do next week to help bring some more awareness with you with Healy's. Please send us any questions, or if you'd like to see something else done over this period of time. Our idea is to try and help you become a better Healy user, and we'd like to hear your stories too. Paul, you got anything?
No, I have nothing else. I thank everyone for coming on tonight. I look forward to next week again.
Thank you
Yeah.
both.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
signing
you
off.
guys. Appreciate it.
You bet. We'll talk again soon.
Okay.
Thank you.